Your hips are your body's protector, part 3. Okay, if you've gotten this far, I'm going to show you a series of movements that will help release your iliopsoas complex and your pelvic floor muscles. If you do not understand why I'm talking about the iliopsoas and the pelvic floor, if you do not understand why anger is a protective mechanism and a protective emotion, if you do not understand why the hips are the body's protector at all, please go listen to part 1 and 2. I think it's super relevant for this information, but here are the movements that will help. I'm going to explain them and then I'm going to demo them. So the first one is child's pose. We've talked about child's pose in the past. Child's pose is a signal of safety. We're going to start with it because it's what's going to get your body into the safest place first, so that we can then start to do the deeper stretches on the iliacus and the psoas muscles. It compresses the lumbar spine and it compresses the psoas very lightly, but simultaneously it also brings awareness to your pelvis, because you're kind of like activating, not really activating, but like you're utilizing the pelvis, right? Like where you're bending from is basically the muscles of your pelvis, and you're compressing the anterior side of the pelvis. So you're really bringing awareness to that area of the body, which helps you be more embodied and helps you feel whatever it is that you've been storing there more clearly. The second pose is a dragon pose in yin yoga, or low lunge in vinyasa. It's a direct sustained stretch along the iliopsoas. So we first start with child's pose to prime our body and our nervous system and signal safety, and then we go in for the deeper iliopsoas specific stretch. Then we're going to do lizard, or in yin yoga it's called dragon flying low, and that is an even deeper stretch through the iliopsoas, and it targets like the inner thigh, which is the liver meridian, the liver channel, which corresponds to the iliopsoas tightness and corresponds to suppressed anger. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go listen to part 2. Then we're going to go into Supta Baddha Konasana, which is supine bound angle pose. So we bring our bottoms of our feet together, our knees wide, and we're going to lay back. That is an inner thigh stretch, and it's going to be a pelvic floor release. So once we release the iliopsoas, then the pelvic floor is going to feel safe enough that if we try to release it, it will hopefully listen. And then the last thing that we're going to do is a supine spinal twist, where we are twisting from the middle of the spine, and I'm going to do all of the cues, but basically you want to make sure that both of your shoulder blades are touching the floor. If your shoulder blade is lifting at all, you want to lessen the twist because you're not twisting from the right place. That would mean that you're twisting from your thoracic spine, your upper back, and you want to be twisting from your mid back / lower back. So what this does is it mobilizes the lower back or the lumbar spine, and it also hits on that liver meridian pathway that we talked about in the last video. So let's get into it. I promise I do have a yoga mat, but I actually just way prefer being on the floor, but feel free to use a mat. So we're gonna start with a child's pose. We're gonna come onto the knees. Big toes are together. I'm gonna go this way. My floors are really clean, I promise. Big toes are together, knees are wide. We're sitting the hips back on the heels, bending through the hips, reaching forward. Drop the forehead onto the floor or onto the mat. Dropping the forehead is really important to signal to the top of the trigeminal nerve that there is safety. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my part 2 of my 5 nervous system regulation techniques video. Anyway, we're going to reach forward. You're going to stay here for 2 to 5 minutes. Next one is dragon pose or low lunge. So you're going to make sure that your bottom foot is tucked under and you're pressing into the knee. If you feel any pain in this knee, feel free to put a blanket or a pillow underneath it, or roll up your mat. And then we are maintaining a 90 degree in that front leg, and you're really sinking in to the front of the iliopsoas right here. You can stay here. You can bring the hands down if you like. You can bring the hands to the thigh, hands to heart center, or hands up for power. I like to be at heart center today, but it really depends on your day and your mood. And we're breathing into the iliopsoas here. So we really want to make sure that we're not tightening further, we're not contracting further. So we're maintaining belly breaths. Inhale to expand the belly. Exhale to deepen into the pose. You're gonna stay here for about a minute 30 on each side. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come out of that and you're gonna do, obviously you're gonna switch, and then come back into it on the original side that you started on. You're going to slightly heel toe the front foot so that it's to the side of the midline, right? Like you're originally here, and then you're just gonna heel toe it to the, I'm doing my right leg, so I'm gonna heel toe it to the right side. If you were doing your left leg, you heel toe it to the left side. You're gonna come onto your knife edge for lizard/dragon pose. And now you can stay here or lower. I would recommend staying here, and here is why. Because you can target the inner thigh of this leg that's bent. If you lower, that's fine. But the problem is what most people do, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it on this video, but what most people do is that when you lower, you start to bend forward like this. You see? You start to sink into that hip. And so you're not actually stretching the iliopsoas on this side like you're supposed to, but you're actually just pulling it closer to the bent leg, which is like you're actively just moving your leg closer, you're dropping your hip, you're not stretching the right muscle. So I would recommend staying up on the hands unless you have like super mobile iliopsoas, which I assume none of you who are watching this video do, because why would you be here if you did? Yeah, so you're gonna stay here, again, for a minute to 90 seconds on this side and really focus on trying to pull this leg and this leg apart from each other. So not like you're not moving them, but if you've ever heard of isometric contraction, that's what you're doing, right? You're trying to do an isometric pull. You're trying to pull them apart internally without actually moving the large external structures. So really focus on the muscles of the straightened leg and pulling them apart from the muscles of the bent leg. Again, a minute to 90 seconds here on each side. Then I think it's Supta Baddha Konasana. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna come onto your front, you're gonna ground into the sits bones, you're gonna put your bottoms of your feet to meet in a butterfly pose or Baddha Konasana. You wanna make sure that your toes are touching. So only go as far as your knees can go if your toes are touching. And then you're slowly gonna roll back onto your back. Bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. And you're gonna find the breath here, deep belly breaths. If you know 3-part breath, that now is the time to engage it. 3-part breath is basically just breathing into the belly, into the rib cage, into the chest, and out in the opposite direction. So really intentionally moving each part of the torso with your inhale separately and with your exhale separately. And it really helps with that body awareness and noticing where you feel tight, where you feel like you're able to expand more, and sinking into those areas where you want to expand. You're going to stay there again for 3 to 5 minutes. Then the last pose is a spinal twist. So what you're going to do, I'm going to do it this direction so that you can see me. You're going to roll down onto your back, very slowly, vertebra by vertebra. Bring your arms out to a T. You're going to bring your knees 90 degrees, and then you're slowly going to allow them to fall to one side, looking the opposite direction. Now, like I said, you want to make sure that the shoulder blade that you're turning away from, so I'm turning to the left side, so right now I'm talking about my right shoulder blade. My right shoulder blade and entire right back of my shoulder should be touching the ground or the mat. So if you feel like your shoulder blade is lifting, I want you to lessen your twist by coming onto your feet. So you're still like bringing the knees to the side, but you are not coming all the way down to the ground with your knees. And the reason for that is that we want to make sure that we're twisting from the low back, not from the thoracic or the upper back, because we don't want to create injury. You're going to stay here for 3 to 5 minutes on each side. That's all. Sending so much love. Bye.